So week 11, we've got the top 40 running backs ranked and tiered. So before Sunday, let's break down these updated running back rankings for week 11 of the 2024 NFL season. This is ENM Fantasy presented by ErvinandM.com, where I combine industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy when setting your weekly lineups in your fantasy football league. I'm writing this on Tuesday night for Wednesday's video. Expect more videos later every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. Look the playlist in the top right for all the updated rankings for week 11. Cardinals, Buccaneers, Panthers, and Giants are all on bye. We begin the full PPR RB rankings once again with outstanding numbers this week for backs. Great game totals and over-under yards from backs in recent weeks have been outstanding. There's no other word. We've got 5 the S tier this week. They are Saquon Barkley, 106 over-under, 128 yards per game. They are 3-point favorites with a 48-point total versus Washington and the 28th worst run defense in the league. My God. Joe Mixon, 102 over-under, 116 yards per game. They are 7-point favorites against the deplorable Dallas Cowboys' 31st worst run defense. Sweet Jesus. Christian McCaffrey, 109 over-under, 107 yards in his debut. They are 6-point favorites, and it is the highest scoring game of the week, set at 51 against the Seahawks, who are 26th against the run. Ludicrous. Alvin Kamara, 113 over-under, 114 yards per game. They are 1-point favorites against the league average Cleveland Browns. And Bijan Robinson, 100 over-under, 108 yards per game. They are 1-point dogs with an okay total at 44 versus Denver, the 7th best run D. These are your top 5 running backs for week 11. They are your best running backs this week, according to Vegas sportsbooks. They catch passes. They have good matchups with high implied team scoring totals, putting them in the best position to go over 100 total yards. A-tier begins with the rest of the elite running backs. Any of these guys could finish top 6. They are projected for about 90 to 100 yards this week by major sports books. We're going to kick it off with Breece Hall. 98 over-under, 91 yards per game. They are 3-point favorites against Indianapolis this week, who are 30th against the run. In spite of Rodgers looking like a $112 million pile of garbage, Hall managed 83 total yards in their 31-6 loss to the Cardinals this past week. That type of floor keeps Hall elite. And this week, he gets one of the worst run defenses in the league. Don't be scared. Kyren Williams at 7. 95 over-under, 89 yards per game. They are 4-point favorites against New England. It's kind of the same story for Kyren. Even in defeat, 23-15 on Monday night, his floor was 82 yards. He's one of the only players this season to average 1 touchdown per game, which is why, in spite of a lower over-under total, he finds himself in the A tier alongside all these studs. Expect him to bounce back against the 23rd worst run D of the Patriots this week. Not a problem. Jonathan Taylor, 98 over-under, 103 yards per game. The game total is okay. Vegas tells us it'll be a close game with the Jets. Taylor should be fine to get his yards this week, as he did against the better run defense of the Bills to the tune of 122 yards last week. Should be no problem against a much worse 25th ranked Jets run defense this week. Aaron Jones at 9, 92 over under, 101 yards per game. He faces the Titans run defense, currently at 13th on the season, but in their last 3 games, they've dropped to bottom 8 against the rush. As 6-point favorites, this shouldn't be much of a game. Lock him in. And Derrick the King Henry at 10. I don't want to disrespect the King, okay? He finds himself at the end of the tier simply because he has the worst matchup out of the group. Pittsburgh is 4th best against the rush. And to put that into perspective, 1 through 3 is like 73 yards, 79 yards, 83 yards, with the Steelers only allowing 87 yards per game. And from 5 to 9, it's over 100 yards. So Pittsburgh Steelers are an elite rush defense. That being said, Derrick Henry is a generational talent, and the Ravens are favorites in spite of all the cooking that Russ has been doing.
Unlimited diarrhea.
Net 11, we're going to start the next tier with the rest of the starting running backs. These guys are projected for 80 to 90 yards. Ludicrous. This is the B tier, boys. Do not get it twisted. These dudes are still putting in work. Josh Jacobs, 87 over under, but 99 yards per game. Green Bay is rested. Chicago is withering. They are 24th against the rush. 8 out of 9 backs have went over against them on the season, and Josh Jacobs will be no exception. Packers are 6-point favorites in this one. RIP Chicago. And we'll go back-to-back with the number 1 rushing offense for both yards and touchdowns, the Detroit Lions' own Sonic and Knuckles at 12 and 13. They face McCorkle Jones and the Jags' 20th ranked run defense this week, and get ready for the spread. Get ready for the spread! The Detroit Lions are 13-point favorites. 13 points. Not 9, not 10, 11, or 12. 13. Pray for Jacksonville. This is going to be the most disgusting slaughter of the season, and Gibbs and Monty are leading the massacre. Next up, ErvinandM.com. ErvinandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Now back to the video. Support me, support you. Shop at my store. I built it. My partner and I handcraft and make everything to order ourselves. Like this handcrafted inlay ring, or these bracelets, this tie clip, this hat. But if you don't like spending money, subscribe. It's free. And at 14, we'll go Devon Achane. Expect the momentum to continue as they take on the Las Vegas Raiders, who are currently selling for a ticket to the Sanders and Primetime show. His over-under set at 80. He's managed 86 yards per game. They are 7-point favorites. I mean, Vegas is the 22nd against the run, and Achane, in spite of looking like Toad, will in fact be a Goomba-stomping Italian plumber, as Miami is 7-point favorites in this one. Lock him in. We're going to continue the B tier with 3 more backs, but I will say virtually all the good matchups are done. And for that, we'll go back to back to back with the remaining at 15, 16, and 17. DeAndre Swift, Chase Brown, and KW3. They all have the last 80 lines and have averaged 88 yards per game. They each face the 10th, the 9th, and 8th best run defenses and are all underdogs in these matchups. Chase has the closest game out of the bunch. I mean, you can scoot him right up there in front. But we should expect Herbert to get more reps, so they all get bunched together here. Which brings us to C tier. We're officially in handcuff / terrible offenses / terrible matchups territory, but the lunacy continues. These guys are still all set for basically 70 yards each, but the matchups and point totals put them here. Kareem Hunt at 18. With the exception kind of being Kareem Hunt this week, you could argue to put him in the tier above, and I got no problem with that, really. The undefeated Chiefs, who had all but lost the Denver defense, will look to maintain their undefeated streak as they take on the Buffalo Bills. Bills are league average against the run, and as well as the pass, so Hunt should have no issue getting his 70 this week. J.K. Dobbins at 19. He faces the Bengals this week. They are league average against the rush. Chargers are league average with the rush. So the point total's okay. The spread tells us it should be a close game. Basically a mid-off with the Chargers defense as 6th best in the league, negating the Bengals' 4th best passing offense. This one will be fought in the trenches. Dobbins should be okay. Ramondre Stevenson at 20. Pats are 4-point dogs in this one versus the 19th rush defense of the Rams. This should be a bounce-back game for LA, but stranger things have happened. Stevenson should be fine. He remains the most productive player alongside May, and this game could end up closer than expected, with the Pats exceeding expectations and the Rams maybe falling short. James Cook, 21. Which brings us to his opponent in the game. The sledding will be much tougher for Cook than it was for Hunt. Kansas is 3rd against the run and 4th for total defense. In spite of that, Buffalo is still favored by 2 by Vegas, but the Bills will be hard-pressed to win this game and will almost certainly have to see much more Josh Allen hero ball if they want to pull it off. Tony Pollard at 22. Speaking of tough sledding, the lowly Titans take on Minnesota as 6-point dogs, and you know what that means.
Unlimited diarrhea.
69 over-under is Pollard's line, 91 yards per game, though. So he finds himself here because running the ball is not the plan when you're down and playing catch-up. And what's more, Minnesota is 2nd against the run. It's virtually the worst matchup you could organize. He's still set for a respectable line, but beware this week. It's
Diarrhea.
And this is where it starts to get dicey. These backs are only set for 60 yards this week, and after that, it's a cliff. From here, start throwing up prayers. We'll go Nick Chubb at 23. His line continues to grow since his return. His performance has been up and down, though. Vegas gives us a good sign after a week off, though, that the matchup is sweet, even though they aren't projected to win this one against the Saints. New Orleans is 27th against the run, and if there was ever a game for Chubb to show that he's back and still has it, it's this game. So, GL. Najee Harris at 24. And GL to Najee rosters, he faces the #1 run defense this week. I mean, he's been great. But enter in Arthur Smith to further muddle the waters with Warren. But regardless, the takeaway is the matchup. All things considered, they are underdogs in this one, and Russ and Mike Sullivan would be idiots not to exploit the Ravens' 32nd worst pass defense instead of attempting to run the ball.
Diarrhea.
Brian Robinson, 25. At the time of writing, it hasn't been decided if Robinson will play, but if he does, he should find himself here in spite of averaging a respectable 77 yards per game. The takeaway here is the Philadelphia Eagles are 5th when defending the run, and even if he returns, he will almost certainly not be 100% and split the backfield. They are dogs in this one. Not good. Which brings us to E tier. I mean, essentially all the pass-catching backs and premium handcuffs are gone, and all's left is struggling offenses and bad matchups. All 8 are super flat and practically interchangeable. Not good. It's the 50s. We kick it off with Audric Estime. I mean, this could be an undersell. Sean Payton said he would continue to get more reps, which we'll see if he's a man of his word this week as they take on the 20th ranked pass D of the Atlanta Falcons. The Broncos are favorites, and they will look to take out their anger on ATL and seemingly unleash Estime after a respectable debut sans Javonte Williams. We'll see. It's hard to trust what coaches say to the media. So Raheem Mostert at 27. Mostert is the last of this tier with a good matchup. Even though he plays second fiddle to Achane, Mostert is still a decent handcuff and as a 7-point favorite. He should easily see enough work in this game against the 22nd worst Raiders run defense. 50 yards is still respectable, but who knows? He may even get lucky with a touchdown. From here, though, we'll move quickly. At this point, the matchups have escalated, and these backs are not in good positions this week for success. We'll go back-to-back with Rico Dowdle and Alexander Madison. 50 over-unders, and they're both 7-point dogs facing the 11th and 12th best run defenses. We're being honest, 50 is the most we could hope for here, but it looks bleak. And it gets bleaker. We'll go back-to-back with Etienne, Bigsby, and Eckler. All set for 50 yards facing the 6th and 5th best run defenses. I will say, Eckler probably has a better shot in this one, so we'll slide him just ahead, as the Jaguars duo are 13-point dogs. I mean, just absolutely insane. Pray for Jaguars fans, if you know any. And we'll go Jaylen Warren at 33. We'll finish the last viable tier with the last viable back, and I mean, it's as bad as it can be. Steelers take on Baltimore. Copy and paste what I said about Najee Harris. The second fiddle, they are dogs. 50 yards is the best case scenario. These last 6 guys are all in danger of
Unlimited diarrhea.
But I digress. From here, it's 40 yards, 30 yards, and even 20 yards. It's RIP. It's the rest. Tyler Algier, Javonte Williams, Ray Davis. You know what I'm saying? Buy a hat. Get some jewelry. You know what I'm saying? You look like shit. Justice Hill, Cam Akers, Najee Spears, and Khalil Herbert or Roshan Johnson or anybody that you want to throw in here. Welcome to the year of the running back. I'll put your backs full screen back on screen now, and I sincerely hope this helps everyone watching. Support the channel by subscribing and turning on post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before submitting your lineups. It's free, so it's a good value. But if you like spending money and looking good, support me, support you. Check out my store, ervin.com, and watch some more videos.